Alright, it's time for our fourth video, and this one about authentication. So this time there are two commands. We'll cover them together because they go together. One sets the link between oauth2 vera token and a regular token, and the other one gets this information. So the purpose of having these two commands is that the user wouldn't have to remember the token. Would just have to log in, and the login process will generate a vera token by trusted authentication service like Google's, and then this information would be used to pull back the token associated with that login. So let's go through the moves by following the instructions. So the first thing to notice is that the tokens are stored in the data folder. You are familiar with that by now. And the OAuth authenticators is going to be stored in this other folder called OAuth. So it's separate from this other one, and there is no mechanism to read its contents directly. So this is something that is done by the getAuth method. So now let's just go through the instructions. So the explanation, how you can use oauth2 service, there are links here. And you'll see that this is used by cloud computing environments generically. So you'll find here the sandbox to set oauth2 services for Google APIs, for example. So I wrote this little application to go through the process and retrieve the vera token associated with your login. This sounds a little bit too technical, but bear with me. After we are done with setAuth, you'll see that getAuth is just a single command, and you don't have to worry about it. So this is something the developer will go through once. So let's open a new tab. Let's move it here. So what we are doing now is go through this process of generating a vera token. So what you'll see is that most often the user is already logged in. This is a common experience. And so to retrieve the vera token, it's directly, there is no traditional login process going on because you're already there. Then you copy here and you have the vera token. If you want to see how this looks like if you're not logged in, we'll open incognito window and we'll go through the process of doing the same. For example, for my ID at NIH. So there we go. So now the tool didn't find a logged in account. So I'm going to put my account here. And this will also illustrate how these authentication systems go through the authentication process that institution that generates them thinks you need to go through. So this one is very secure. Oops, used the wrong one. All right, I'll recognize. I'm going to use my PIF card here. See, two-factor authentication. And now you're in. So if you are using this application in the incognito model, you're already logged in. And this time I'm logged in as an NIH employee. So this will also work for your institution. So let's close this. So I'm going to copy my vera token for this particular identity. So again, we could log out, and log back in another account to get the vera token. All right, so let's go down. So we just did this. We clicked on show, and we got access to it, and we clicked on copy. And now we have to pick a token we have access to, associate the vera token. There's an optional new token. For instance, you could put the new token as being the last one if you don't want to change it, or put a completely new one, or don't put anything. If you don't put anything, a new token will be generated with the same length as the existing one. And this is probably the most common use of the tool. All right, so let's do this. So let's make sure we have the URL for this cloud service. And you'll see this in previous sessions. Now we are in. So now we can use this. So now we want to use a token. For example, we could use one of these. I'm going to use the second one. There it is. VPW something else. So it's right here. Then the bearer token. So this bearer token is valid for an hour, which means I will not post a video for an hour, so you could not impersonate me. And this is the optional new token. So I'm going to leave it unfilled and let the system generate a new one. So let's pay attention to this token, and we should see a new file pop up in the auth folder. There it is. We got a new path. It's right here. And this is the information retrieved from my oauth2. Remember, this is a file that no one can read directly. It's only read by the business logic of the server with the purpose of associating this ID with this new token. So you see that the original token changed, and in fact you no longer see the previous one. There it is. This is the new one. And you see this also reflected here. This is the new token. So I'm going to do it again. And I have, of course, to put a new token. So use the new token. Oops. Have the new one. This time I'm going to actually retrieve the object. So wait. And we're going to parse the result. And give it a value. For example, X. And you see it changed again. Now it's HDG something, and you see that changed here. If you go back in the video, you'll see these values changing. So the new value is now stored here. So if I put this value here, you'll see that I'll be going through a chain of tokens. So let's keep an eye on what is here, what shows up as the new name for this file, and you'll see this is for a particular auth. We can associate many auths. We can even merge accounts into a single token. All these values changed. So here you go. There it is. So LB is the new one, LB, and LB. So let's do it again. Keep an eye on the corresponding files. There it is. So it keeps changing. If you're using a token that is valid but nothing is created, of course you'll know there's nothing to rename, and this token will be in reserve for whenever you want to post some information. So now get token. Get auth, really get token from a bearer token. So here we go again. I'm just going to replace it by get. So instead of set, we have get. We no longer need the token. Remember, we are trying to retrieve a token after going through the login process you saw earlier. There it is, and this is the bearer token. So we should get the information that is here. So it's important to notice what's going on. My ID is public, 10357, etc. This is my name, this is my Google user, etc. This is an important detail. You get not just the new token, there it is, but I also keep the previous token associated with your bearer token in this file, just in case something happens and for some reason, power break or something, that the operation was not completed and you still have your information under the old token. So this is for safekeeping. Okay, so now with this in mind, I'm just trying to get my information, and this information is stored here. So I'm the only one who can do it. And me being the owner of this bearer token, which is a temporary token, lasts around an hour. So there we are. So now you see that the tokens changed again. There it is. And that information is available here. So at any time I can retrieve, there it is, I'm going to do it again, you see this doesn't change. I can retrieve the current active token associated with this ID after going through the authentication process you just saw earlier. And again, this is true for a direct use of your Gmail ID as it is for your single sign-on, the institutional single sign-on mapped to the Google authenticator. Alright, we'll stop here. The next video is going to be about APIs. So for those who want to call this system from another language than JavaScript and from a different platform than a web application or a node application, you'll see that you can retrieve the composition of the URLs for all of the uses we've gone through so far. Alright, see you next time. Bye now.